Welcome, folks, to the second game of Vanguard, and we are both learning this game, Julia and I. And so we did feel that this game went a lot quicker than yesterday. This will be Trident Realms versus Basilians. I will be playing the Basilians today, and Julie will remain with the Trident Realms. And this is a view of the board. And you can see the wagons there of the supply wagon that we will be using in this scenario. The Trident Realms will be deployed on either side of the wagons, both flanks of the wagon train will be occupied by the Trident Realms. We are playing Destroy the Baggage Train, and the baggage train will have a height of 6 wounds per wagon, and 4+ armor save per wagon. For every wound Trident Realm does to a wagon, they get 1 victory point. For every 10 points that Basilians kill of the Trident Realms, they get a victory point. And the initiative roll kicks off. The Basilians finish deploying first. So Basilians get +1 to initiative. Power rolls, Basilians get 3 points, and Trident Realm 2 points. Not very high power rolls. And so Basilians take the first shot. Here a sister kneels down, crouches down, and takes a shot with her bow at one of the heart piercers. She also manages to wound that heart piercer, thanks to the bonuses granted by clear line of sight and such. The Paladin Defender takes an opportunity and aggressively charges the Thule Mythician in an attempt to reduce the spellcasting ability of the Trident Realms. And he does get Exploding 8s as a result, which of course gives him a reroll and an automatic hit. And so the Thule Mythician fails one of his armor saves, and the defender has done 2 damage to him already, which is enough to wipe him out. So, yeah. The Thule Mythician is removed from the game, and therefore reducing the spellcasting ability for the Trident Realms. A very good move by the Paladin Defender. But the Trident Realm does retaliate, and the Thule warriors that were left behind actually attack the defender. The Paladin Defender is not dead thanks to the down but not down rule. He is knocked down, has a fatigue token, and remains on the table with 1 wound. And so Trident Realm has no power left. This was an attempt at a group move, but we realized that, well, there was no power left. It had used up all of its power resource in previous rolls. A lurker suddenly charges in, and Trident Realm is now beginning to get more aggressive with the objective. Before, they were just concentrating on the Basilian models. Trident Realm manages to wound that cart with 1, giving the Trident Realm a victory point. And then that same lurker suffers 2 wounds thanks to a Basilian crossbowman that was right in the area. And there he is. That lurker is taken out despite the fact that he did a wound to that cart, and did score a victory point for Trident Realm. Trident Realm is now currently leading, and this is the casualties for both Basilian and Trident Realm. This is this is about mid round one. Now, around mid round one, there is no power left for either side. Both sides have used their power, and again, this is just round one. A lot has happened. Right towards the end of round one, the Centurion, a really dangerous lady in the Trident Realm. She is the commander. She manages to kill off one of the men-at-arms from the Basilian side. And so this was right at the end of round one. We are now beginning round two. So round two begins with those pesky otters actually attacking a crossbowman and actually taking him out. He was already fatigued, and here is where Basilians could have used that special ability of Iron Resolve, and I forgot to use it, and unfortunately, well, man down. In round two, we also see a lurker attacking one of these sisters, the sister that took the first shot of the game and actually wounded a heart piercer. Well, she doesn't survive. She gets taken out. And so that marks another casualty for the Basilians in round two. However, the Trident Realm has been focusing a lot on destroying models. Here in round two, we see them trying to reorganize again and attack the wagon train, which is the true objective. So we'll see. In another part of the board, the Thul's warriors that remained and the Platinum Defender battle it out, and he still has one wound. And using Iron Resolve, I was able to finally keep him alive. So I finally remembered that rule, and it really did help. I used 2 power to trigger it, and killed one of the Thul warriors, thus tying the game. So now, towards the end of round 2, we see the game tied. And by beginning of round 3, we see the final succumbing of the Paladin Defender. He is down. And then Centurion Lady and Chaplain clash during round 3, and this is one of the big highlights of that round. The fight begins between those two. The Centurion is wounded once during the fight, but she is still very much in the battle. And this is another view of the fight. Always exciting to see like a battle between the strong models. And then round 3 is also, well, those pesky otters engage the sergeant and boggle him down. And then we see an attack on the wagon by another lurker. And this will inevitably cause another wound to the wagon. So we're just going back and forth, between tying the game and then Basilians taking the lead and Trident Realm taking the lead. So now, however, at the end of round 3, the Trident Realm does lead by 1 point. One of the Panthers actually wounds a heart piercer during the early stages of round 4, and we are getting close to the end of the game. That heart piercer is taken out by a sister that comes in and helps with the fight. And so eventually that puts Basilians back in the lead. So round 4 is essentially we have a tie again. This has been a really crazy game again. Very exciting, a lot of action and a lot of ties and no ties and ugh. And here is a fight between the otters. One of the men at arms actually comes in to help the sergeant to get rid of those pesky, pesky otters. And of course, that is enough. It was enough to actually kill the otters and bring the Basilians back into the lead. And we should see that picture very shortly. There we go. Basilians in lead by 1. That otter is worth 10 points, the otter swarm, and so that grants Basilians another victory point. So they're back in the lead. And the commander ends up in a fight with one of the initiates, and there is a wall between them. So this fight does not get very far. And round 5, final round of the game. Notice how empty the table is. There has been a lot of death on either side of the game. We see here a fight on the left flank of the wagon train, and that lurker down below there, he actually manages to take out one of the, actually that's the sergeant. And the sergeant model is actually taken out by one of the lurkers. So here is the Basilian casualties by the very end of the game. I mean, it's a little crazy. Now, of course, Trident Realms was not supposed to just kill models. They were supposed to kill the wagon trains. So unfortunately, the casualties here in the Trident Realm actually benefits Basilia. The Basilians, I'm sorry. And towards the end of round 5, we see the powerful models fighting the chaplain and the centurion. She has 2 wounds. He has 3 wounds. And things are getting exciting, but the game is very much in the end stages. And here we see a panther. We don't really know what happens to the panther. He has 1 wound. We don't know if he actually kills that model because it is the end of the game. And a very exciting game. We probably got a couple of things wrong. I kept forgetting my special rules for Basilians. Okay, and so one thing we forgot yesterday was the whole down but not down rules. And this is very interesting. I just want to say something about that because the down but not down, it occurs to models that have keywords like warrior, support, command, anything but the grunt keyword. At least that's how we read it. And so when that model goes down to 0 hit points, or 0 wounds rather, instead of removing it from the table, it makes a nerve test. And if that nerve test is passed, the model remains on the table with 1 wound. It is fatigued and knocked down, so there's that. But you get a chance to actually stay on the table. Now, if you're a grunt, once grunt models go down to 0, they're removed. And so the nice thing about this rule is that it gives your command models, your kind of really elite models, a chance to stay on that table. Now, with the nerve test, the other thing that's interesting is, of course, let's say if that model only had 1 wound left and it takes 2 wounds, well, you do the nerve test with a -1, right? So that's interesting. And of course, if it fails, then it's out of the table. But this rule really kind of, it's interesting because it makes those elite models that a little bit that much more durable on the table, and that's something that Julie really appreciates, and so do I. And one of the cool things, of course, for ranged units are pretty strong in this game. If they have a clear shot where their line of sight is good, and everything checks out, they get an extra dice without even using power uh, to their roll, and to their rolling pool, and so that is really helpful, and definitely makes them uh, you know, pretty powerful, at least from our opinion. Makes them pretty good in the game. And the learning curve for us is definitely, a little bit up there. It does have a lot of special abilities and things. The core rules are not that hard to learn, really. That's not where we kind of get stumped sometimes. It's the sort of faction rules that you add all the little special abilities and everything else. We made a little cheat sheet for ourselves to write up all of the abilities that are not described in the cards, so we don't have to look through the rule book and slow the game down. uh, all in all, folks, it's a lot of fun. I really do like Vanguard a lot, and I think Julie feels the same. And hopefully, I can get her on so that we can talk a little bit about the factions and the game in general. So expect that later on in the week. Another interesting core mechanic for this game is the actions that you have available to you during a model's activation. So, certain actions are considered long actions, certain actions are considered short actions. You can do two short actions on your turn or one long action. In addition, you can use power and you can kind of add extra actions. And of course, those models become fatigued um, if you're forcing them. If you're forcing actions, models become fatigued. So that is if you do like an extra action out of your turn, you don't use power. Now, yesterday we forgot that crossbow guys armed with crossbows, they have this thing called reload, and what happens is whenever you fire a crossbow, it's considered a long action, which means you can only do one thing. You can't move with it afterwards unless, I guess, you're forcing the model. But firing a crossbow is a long action. Firing a bow is a short action. So these are just interesting little things that go on in the game. And I'm going to reserve this for my faction talks, but you do get on these reference cards, you get special abilities that are, well, part of the entire faction. And that kind of makes your faction unique. And so while the details for this I want to reserve for another video, these special abilities exist, and you pay power to use them, and they can really have an impact on your game. And let's take one last look at what was left on the table after round 5. So we got that guy there wounded. We got this fight here between Commander and one of the initiates. The crossbowman stood there. And fight here, between the two powerful models. Here's the cat. We never knew how that turned out. Here was a sister that took out one of her enemies, and she's like kind of frozen on the board. Here are the wagon trains. Only one wagon had 2 wounds. Here's one of the sisters kneeling. And a fight here that we won't really know how it turned out. But one of the heart piercers has a wound, and of course, a sister and a panther. And that's kind of how they remained. So, interesting game. Thank you very much, folks. And we are still learning this. And, one of the things that Julie said was, well, I should have really attacked those wagons. And I think that was one thing that really, limited the Trident Realm. If those wagons had been attacked more, I think, Trident Realm could have possibly won the game. But I'm hoping that Julie will kind of discuss that with you guys if we have a chance to do a two-person chat on this game. All right, folks, thank you very much. Thank you so much. And remember, we were just kind of highlighting what happened in each of the rounds. This is not a full battle report, but it gives an idea of what is going on. Have a good day, and we hope to have a third game, hopefully.